Hi, my name is Praveen,
And I'm Richard.
and this is our Fall 2022 Collective Narrative Quarterly Update. People in larger groups may have trouble feeling connected to their community, especially not without some time and effort that they don't already have. For example, Northwestern students would be a great example of this. They belong to a community, but the desire to feel a greater sense of belonging may still linger. So, how can they go about finding this today? Well, they will have a few options. For example, social media applications such as Facebook and Snapchat provide ways for people to post about their lives and keep everyone updated. But oftentimes, people will get very concerned about the content of their posts. Be Real promotes authenticity by prompting people to make posts at random points in their day. However, both social media platforms suffer in that they promote primarily individual content. Little is done to connect the moments in people's posts together, which can lead to everyone's lives feeling rather separate.
The overarching goal of collective narrative has been to connect communities at a distance through shared social media artifacts. It does this using Cerebro, a mobile application that takes the user's context, such as the user's current location and time of day, and prompts the user to submit media, such as photos or videos, of certain things based on what is in the user's context. Collective narrative then aggregates all the user's submissions in some meaningful manner to foster a stronger sense of community. While this may sound straightforward, users face a few key obstacles that current iterations of collective narratives have not yet completely overcome. One obstacle to achieving connection outcomes are time and effort barriers. These generally apply to different events that community members may typically attend to feel like a stronger part of their community, but they may also apply towards collective narrative. For example, it may take the user too much effort to properly respond to certain prompts on collective narrative, which could prevent them from contributing. In addition, past studies of collective narrative indicate that participants desired more active ways to interact with other participants. Finally, we believe that past iterations of collective narrative failed to elicit strong connection outcomes because they produced artifacts that still read like walls of individualized posts similar to traditional social media. To address these problems, we turn to the following related approaches. Be Real is a recently popular social media platform that spontaneously prompts users to submit a picture of them in their daily lives at a random time of day, challenging the existing notion that social media content should be polished and curated. We believe that its relative simplicity and spontaneity minimizes the effort required for potential collective narrative users to contribute. However, submissions on Be Real do little to promote connectivity and are still highly individualized. On the other side of the spectrum, Life in a Day is a documentary aimed at highlighting the ways people around the world engage in similar activities, but in a richly diverse manner. It uses film techniques, such as relatively seamless transitions, to show that people do similar things. While Life in a Day's contributions are heavily determined by a single author or filmmaker, we believe that combining the positives of these two approaches will allow us to create a shared artifact that sufficiently connects each contribution without reading like a wall of posts in a relatively effortless way.
We argue that by inviting users to take part in interdependent activities that connect people's daily lives, they will form greater feelings of connection with each other, more so than compared to standard social media platforms. We hope that by creating smooth transitions and showing interdependence, we can create an overall storyline where everyone plays a part in it.
To instantiate our design argument this quarter, we have explored two approaches to our interface. In our initial design, we considered allowing users to view previous submissions before submitting their own, encouraging them to submit contributions that would appear related to the previous ones. While we initially believed that this approach would allow for more freedom for the artifact to vary in interesting ways, we realized that the user's context may not allow them to submit media that is related to the previous contribution, and that deciding what to submit may be too effortful for the user. We are currently exploring our alternative interface design, in which we create well-designed submission categories that are distinct points in the story, such as cutting ingredients in a meal preparation story, and allow users to categorize their own submissions. This is a less effortful approach for the user, but the user may also have trouble classifying their submissions in the more restrictive categories. More user testing will be needed to tune our interface designs.
Similar to previous iterations of collective narrative, our application, Cerebro, utilizes opportunistic prompting and situation detectors to prompt users based on their current situations. For our needs, we plan to primarily ping them at grocery stores and mealtimes. After this, we'd aggregate our submissions into buckets depending on the type. This would always give us a standard theme or storyline to follow, where everyone is taking part in a certain stage of the cooking process with their submission ordered as such. That being said, this idea was a preliminary one. In this structure, interdependence technically only happened between the stages of cooking, but there is no specific ordering within. The ordering for us was simply by submission time.
The three main objectives of our studies this quarter are as follows. First, we are interested in determining the effectiveness of our pre-story scaffolding and allowing users to easily contribute to the collective artifact. Second, we need to determine the effectiveness of our buckets and prompting in making a video that has relatively seamless transitions where necessary, such as within and between story points. Finally, we strive to evaluate the degree to which people felt connected as a result of the cohesion of the artifact. Our initial study aimed to achieve all three objectives, but our most recent study focuses only on the first two.
Both of our studies were conducted over Slack. We conducted our studies with members of the DTR community, since they fit our user criteria, which was members of a larger community who may not necessarily know each other well. For the second study that we just completed, participants were prompted at different meal times, but they were explicitly told that they had more time to respond until the next ping occurred. This was to give them a level of flexibility in the case that they weren't having their meals exactly at the times that we prompted them. For both studies, we collected qualitative feedback to better understand the participants' reactions to our video. We wanted them to notice and appreciate the collection of videos and potentially feel a stronger sense of connection to their community. While we did not officially test any quantitative measures in the first study, we did so for the second, where we asked participants to rate the degree to which they felt the final artifact was cohesive, since that is what we believe to be leading our design outcome.
The results of our initial study showed that participants could easily find cooking-related content and submit media to the shared artifact. However, we also discovered that this was insufficient to create a cohesive artifact. Without pre-story scaffolding, beyond just telling them to submit something related to grocery shopping, eating, or cooking, there was a wide range of submissions, such as chopping green onions, reheating food in the microwave, or a video of a cup of coffee at the coffee shop. In addition, there was no indication of who submitted what in this artifact, leading users to feel that the final artifact was impersonal and could have easily just been a collection of cooking-related video clips from the internet. The results of our final study were more promising as we implemented changes to address previous user feedback. First, we increased our pre-story scaffolding from broad categories to more specific ones. For example, we separated the process of cooking into chopping ingredients and placing ingredients into a cooking apparatus, such as a pot or an oven. The specificity of these buckets allowed us to limit the types of submissions we received, such that we could create more cohesive artifacts. In addition, we added user-submitted captions and associated each video clip with the contributor's name and caption to address the concerns of users in our previous study. We've found that these changes improve the quality of the final artifact and our users' responses to the artifact in terms of cohesion and connection outcomes.
From having a study with and another without names and descriptions, we found that users found posts with names attached to them to be more personal to the community, which makes sense. Our buckets somewhat worked in that there was a flow that we achieved in the video where posts corresponded to certain stages of cooking, but the transitions between each video were still jarring, suggesting the need for us to find more ways to connect clips smoothly in ways that we have not done before. In addition to this, we also found the students were more inclined to choose some buckets over others, with most of them choosing to just show the final food that they're eating as opposed to the process of making it, which is important for us to keep in mind when it comes to the outcomes we would have expected to have going forward.
We have identified several key next steps to take the project forward. First, it would be beneficial to deploy the project on Cerebro to determine the effectiveness of our opportunistic prompting in garnering accurate responses. Additionally, the deployed system could help us validate user submissions, such as ensuring that users label their submissions with a specified category and submit videos of an appropriate length instead of images. Second, we believe that further fine-tuning and specification of the submission categories would lead to more cohesive narratives and minimize user confusion due to the fact that many participants responded more to certain buckets than others. Third, while our artifact focused on cohesion through visual similarity, or in other words, the way that submissions looked similar within buckets, as well as chronological order, or the way in which we highlighted a logical transition from uncooked ingredients to prepared meals, we believe that other techniques may be employed to promote different kinds of cohesion. Finally, our techniques should be applied to other storylines to further demonstrate collective narrative's ability to facilitate the creation of general non-fictional collective narratives.
For this project, we found producing demos to always be really helpful. Even when we didn't have everything developed yet, we had a goal to work towards, which made presenting our ideas and executing them easier. Lo-fi prototyping is also a continuous process, so doing it throughout will always feel more rewarding. But if you ever get stuck on pitfalls, we should be specific on what we expect to happen, but we should still test because we don't always know whether our fears have foundation or not. But whether one does or one doesn't, we should always not let negative feedback completely change our design. There may be good parts about it that are worth keeping, so it's good to keep that in mind and look at what did work so that we can keep those parts in future iterations. This is our final quarter working at DTR. We've learned a lot from being here, and we can't wait to see where collective narrative goes next.